Hello, I'm Hope Logan. I am an actor on Bold and the Beautiful, and many people really love both me and our Bold and the Beautiful drama. So I've come here to share updates about my beloved Bold and the Beautiful. Everyone, please subscribe and support me. If you do, I will keep coming every day with new updates for you. In the world of the Bold and the Beautiful, tensions at Forrester Creations begin to reach a breaking point as Hope Logan Spencer prepares to make one of the most dramatic decisions of her career. Her announcement that she is leaving Forrester sends shockwaves through the fashion house, especially because her signature line, Hope for the Future, is deeply tied to the brand's identity and legacy. However, complications quickly surface as contract discussions reveal that she may not be able to take the line with her when she exits. This uncertainty creates an emotional and professional crossroads, leaving everyone involved bracing for the fallout of her departure. Even Liam's suggestion adds another layer of complexity, as he proposes that Hope could launch a new line simply called Hope once she joins Katie Logan Spencer's fashion venture. But beneath the surface of this idea lies a looming legal storm, since Steffy Forrester Finnegan could argue that such a name would blur the lines between old and new creations, potentially sparking a fierce lawsuit over branding confusion and ownership rights. As Hope's exit becomes more certain, Steffy Forrester Finnegan finds herself standing at a crossroads of her own, where professionalism and personal emotion begin to collide in unexpected ways. What starts as a business decision slowly transforms into something far more personal, as Steffy begins to consider whether this is the moment to reclaim control and restore dominance over the fashion world. Once Hope leaves Forrester and aligns herself with Katie Logan Spencer's new fashion house, Steffy may choose to abruptly unpause Hope for the Future, reigniting the very line Hope believed she was taking with her. In a bold and accelerated move, she could set an immediate relaunch, rushing a new collection into production without Hope's involvement, designed to capture global attention and overshadow any attempt Hope makes to start fresh. The possibility of introducing Electra Forrester as the new face of the line adds another strategic twist, rebranding it into something like New Hope for the Future, signaling both continuity and reinvention in a way that shakes the entire industry. Yet the strategy may go even further, as Steffi could take a page from past fashion power plays, stepping onto the stage herself and celebrating the legacy of Hope's iconic line, while deliberately using its history and name recognition to dominate the spotlight, depending on how the contract is structured. As this new direction unfolds, Steffi's mindset begins to shift in ways that go far beyond business strategy, especially as she reconsiders her earlier commitment to focusing solely on couture. Hope's departure acts as a catalyst, awakening a more calculated and vengeful side of Steffi that sees opportunity in disruption and control in chaos. Relaunching Hope for the Future without Hope herself becomes more than just a business decision. It transforms into a calculated act of payback, not only toward Hope, but also toward Katie Logan Spencer, Bill Spencer, Liam Spencer, and the broader Logan influence that has long complicated Forrester dynamics. The ripple effects could extend even further, with subtle efforts to undermine Katie's emerging fashion ambitions and create uncertainty around her success, leaving her vulnerable to failure in a highly competitive industry. In this high-stakes battle of legacy, branding, and power, the lines between creativity and revenge begin to blur, setting the stage for an intense showdown where every move carries emotional and professional consequences. As the drama escalates within the Bold and the Beautiful, one thing becomes clear. Steffi may be ready to play dirty, and the fashion world is about to witness a storm of rivalry, ambition, and calculated retaliation that no one can fully control. The moment Hope's exit becomes official, the atmosphere at Forrester Creations shifts in a way that feels almost electric, as if every corner of the building is charged with anticipation and unspoken conflict. What was once a structured environment of design meetings and couture discussions slowly transforms into a battlefield of strategy and silent competition. Steffi watches closely, her decisions becoming sharper, more deliberate, as she begins positioning the relaunch not just as a business opportunity, but as a message that Forrester does not lose control. even when its most recognizable faces walk away. The idea of reclaiming hope for the future without Hope herself starts to evolve into something far more calculated, almost symbolic, as if she is rewriting the narrative of who truly owns success within the fashion empire. Behind closed doors, discussions intensify about timing, branding, and presentation, all carefully engineered to ensure that when the new collection appears, it will not simply compete with Hope's next move, it will overshadow it completely. Every detail, from casting to marketing imagery, is shaped with precision, as Steffy quietly leans into a vision where dominance is not just asserted, but publicly displayed on the global stage. Meanwhile, Hope finds herself stepping into a new chapter alongside Katie Logan Spencer, carrying with her the emotional weight of leaving behind a legacy she helped build. Her departure is not just a professional transition, but a deeply personal separation from a place that defined much of her identity and ambition. As she begins shaping her future within Katie's fashion house, optimism mixes with uncertainty, especially as whispers about Steffi's sudden relaunch begin to circulate. What should have been a clean break starts to feel more complicated, as if the past is refusing to stay behind at Forrester Creations. The possibility that her former line might be revived without her input adds an undercurrent of tension to her new beginning, forcing her to confront the reality that her influence may still be used, even in her absence. Katie, sensing both opportunity and risk, prepares herself for what could become a direct collision with the Forrester legacy, fully aware that stepping into this space means entering a war of perception as much as design. As the fashion world begins to take notice, speculation grows louder about what Steffi's next move truly means, and whether it is innovation or retaliation disguised as strategy. The reimagined version of Hope for the Future starts gaining traction even before its official debut, fueled by carefully placed teasers and controlled leaks that spark curiosity across the industry. The introduction of Electra Forrester as a possible new face only intensifies the buzz, creating a narrative of renewal that feels both familiar and deliberately provocative. Yet beneath the polished surface of this relaunch lies a deeper emotional current, one driven by betrayal, rivalry, and unresolved tension between two women whose names are now permanently linked through fashion and conflict. As anticipation builds toward the eventual reveal, it becomes increasingly clear that this is no longer just about clothing lines or branding decisions. It is about control, legacy, and the power to define who gets remembered and who gets replaced. And as all of these forces collide, the fallout begins to spread beyond the runway and into the personal lives entangled within the conflict. Liam finds himself caught in the middle once again, torn between understanding Hope's desire for independence and recognizing the intensity of Steffi's response. Bill Spencer watches from a distance with calculated interest, aware that any instability between the Forresters and Logans often creates openings he can eventually exploit. Meanwhile, tensions between Katie and Steffy quietly simmer beneath the surface, as both women prepare for a confrontation that may not be immediate, but feels inevitable. What started as a professional departure has now evolved into something much larger, a layered conflict of legacy, pride, and emotional history that refuses to settle quietly. In the world of the bold and the beautiful, every decision carries consequences that ripple far beyond the runway, and as Steffi's next moves begin to unfold, it becomes clear that this is only the beginning of a much deeper and more dangerous fashion war. As the relaunch day draws closer, Forrester Creations becomes almost unrecognizable in its intensity, with every department operating under a pressure that feels less like preparation and more like anticipation of impact. Steffy pushes forward with unwavering focus, treating the upcoming reveal as a defining moment not just for the brand, but for her own leadership within the company. The rebranded vision of Hope for the Future begins taking shape in secrecy, its designs guarded like classified information, while marketing teams prepare a campaign designed to dominate headlines the moment it breaks. Every choice is deliberate. Lighting, models, staging, crafted to send a clear message that Forrester does not wait for permission to evolve. The energy inside the building feels sharp and almost unforgiving, as if the entire house is holding its breath before a storm is released onto the fashion world. And at the center of it all, Steffi remains calm on the surface, but driven by a determination that borders on personal vindication, as though this moment is about far more than business success. When the announcement finally drops, it lands like a shockwave across the industry, instantly igniting reactions from fans, media, and rival fashion houses alike. The unveiling of new hope for the future, led by Electra Forrester and framed as a bold rebirth of legacy, dominates every platform within hours, eclipsing expectations and pulling attention in exactly the way Steffi intended. The strategic use of the original line's name creates immediate confusion and conversation, blurring the lines between past and present in a way that forces everyone to pay attention. Hope, upon seeing the launch unfold, is struck by a mix of disbelief and frustration, realizing that what she once built is now being reshaped without her voice in the narrative. The emotional weight of it settles heavily, not just as a professional setback, but as a reminder that her departure did not create distance from her past. It only transformed how closely it follows her. Katie, watching the unfolding media frenzy, begins to understand just how aggressive Forrester's response truly is, recognizing that this is not simply a relaunch, but a calculated statement of dominance. As reactions spiral outward, the tension between both sides begins to harden into something more confrontational, with legal advisors, executives, and allies quietly stepping into position behind the scenes. Questions about branding rights, contractual limitations, and creative ownership begin surfacing again, threatening to turn the fashion rivalry into a full-scale legal battle if pushed further. Steffi remains composed, yet increasingly unapologetic, as if she has already accepted whatever consequences may follow, confident that momentum is on her side. Meanwhile, Hope finds herself pulled into difficult conversations about how far she is willing to go to protect her identity and future, especially as her new partnership with Katie faces pressure from the sudden attention on Forrester's move. What was once a separation meant to create independence is now evolving into an emotional and strategic collision course between two competing visions of legacy. And as the spotlight grows brighter, the divide between past loyalty and future ambition only deepens, setting the stage for a confrontation that feels less like a possibility and more like an approaching inevitability within the ever-turbulent world of the bold and the beautiful.